Good morning. I guess it's morning here. It may not be morning where you are, but good day, good evening, whichever it is for you. This is Tom Lenz, and this is a bit of an introduction to Modules 7 and 8. This introduction here will count for both, or it can be used for both, because what we're doing in Modules 7 and 8, of course, is case studies, and just a continuation from one module to the next. So the information we talk about here will provide an introduction to both modules. So as I said, we're doing case studies for modules 7 and 8, and this will hopefully get you to start thinking about bringing this together into a what kind of about programs, comprehensive programs related to lifestyle medicine for folks with and without chronic disease. So the way this is designed is we have several. There are 6 total case studies, 3 in Module 7, 3 in Module 8. But the way the case studies are designed is that it's the same person. Her name is CJ. Of course, we got to go Creighton J. So CJ is our practice patient, our practice client, our participant, whatever you want to call them. And sometimes, just by the way, I like to use for lifestyle medicine participant because it sounds less like they're sick. Client seems transactional to me, although I know a lot of professions use that. It doesn't seem that these folks are patients, so I always use participants, although in much of the writings that I've done for you, I've used patient/client just as a way to be consistent. So anyway, that's just my own thought, neither here nor there. So we have the same individual, CJ, that we're going to use for all 6 case studies. The reason I like to use that model is we can set a baseline for her on the first case, and then we can build upon that as we go through time. So for instance, CJ starts at age 23 with our first case that's called primordial prevention, and then she ends up at age 68 with coronary artery disease by the time we get to our 6th case. If you're not familiar with the word I just used, primordial prevention, here's just a little bit of quick overview. Primordial prevention is where we are trying to, the individual, CJ in this case, does not have risk factors. And so what we're doing is trying to take steps to prevent risk factors. In our case here, we're kind of focused on cardiovascular issues for consistency through the cases. So primordial prevention means that she doesn't have risk factors yet, and we're trying to prevent the risk factors for cardiovascular disease. The next step then is primary prevention, and primary prevention means that you're trying to, that the individual has, most likely has risk factors, and you're trying to prevent cardiovascular occurrence from happening, say a heart attack. So they may have high blood pressure and you're trying to prevent a heart attack. That's primary prevention. Secondary prevention, then, if you come across these terms, secondary prevention would mean that the individual would have cardiovascular disease and likely have, say, for instance, a heart attack or a stroke, and you're trying to prevent a second heart attack or stroke, and that's secondary prevention. So our first case is in primary prevention, and this hopefully will get you cued into thinking about lifestyle medicine, for one, across the lifespan. So someone who is younger, a younger adult to an older adult, and also someone who does not have any conditions, chronic conditions, to then someone who does have chronic conditions. So with and without chronic conditions across the lifespan, that's part of the intent for the cases. The other piece that this is going to touch on, and that is going to get you introduced to, that will then carry over to your other courses, is what's it like to document lifestyle medicine activities. Part of what you will do in the cases, there will be, the way they're designed, as you read through them, you'll see this, that it gives you information about the case and about the CJ and what's going on with her, and then it asks you questions, and what I will be assessing you on is your answers to those questions. Part of the questioning, and this gets to really probably the last question in each of the cases, is completing the documentation that follows that information. And so what I did for these cases also is kind of break out the documentation system that I use in our cardiovascular and diabetes risk reduction program that I direct here at Creighton. And so I broke pieces of that out and put them into these cases strategically just to kind of get you some practice on how to document using that system. Certainly isn't the end-all be-all to documenting lifestyle medicine. It's just one example for you, and that's the example that we use here. So that's part of this too, is not just thinking about designing a lifestyle medicine program across a lifespan that's comprehensive for people with and without disease, but what are some documentation ideas, examples that you could use for this. So that's kind of the idea. As far as the questioning goes, after following each case, you'll notice that a similar pattern is there for questions, such as what other information do you need to know? What are the barriers for CJ in implementing lifestyle medicine activities, healthy lifestyle behaviors? Those two questions I think are key when we're talking about, when we're working with folks and designing a lifestyle medicine program for them, and really anything that's related to this. It's really just critical thinking type skills, questioning, but I repeat them from one case to the next just to get you in the habit of looking for that when you're working with folks in designing their program. The other part too that I have listed in your just overall information page is that there's several abbreviations that are used throughout the cases, abbreviations for heart rate, blood pressure, cholesterol values, that type of thing. I've listed those on the first overall information sheet, just so you can kind of refer to those. If you're not used to doing case studies, this part might be new to you to see that terminology. So there's a little key for you there. The one last point I wanted to make is that one of the strategies that works really well in learning material, especially for lifestyle medicine, is to start thinking about yourself as your first patient or client or participant, whatever you want to call yourself. But using the own first patient concept is used frequently in different areas of health related fields, and for lifestyle medicine it works fantastic. So this is something that I have my students do quite a bit, is become their own first patient. So in this, particularly in the first case, the primordial prevention case, it has quite a bit of the documentation in that case, and you will fill that out to be your own first patient there. And I'll give you more information about that in the subsequent video here for you to look at as far as that first case goes, information about the first case. But I wanted to give you a heads up that thinking about this as you go through and becoming your own first patient, and how does lifestyle medicine work for me, with me in my life, and applying some of these things that we're asking other people to do is a great way to improve self-awareness. It's a great way to understand lifestyle medicine at a deeper level so that you can do a better job, I think, working with other people. So I look forward to seeing your cases. Oh, by the way, first cases are your pick one out of the. You're going to complete all 3 cases, and those are due on Thursday. But then, and this goes for modules 7 and 8. But then by Sunday you will be matched up with a partner, and you'll have to comment on one of your partner's cases and give them some feedback on there. So we're going to do that similarly to how we did the teaching videos for that. So there you have it. That's our module 7 and 8 to actually finish up the course. I hope you enjoy putting these together. And again, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.